Hello there, I'm Adam Peterson. I've led projects for a long time, and one of the things I've learned is managing stakeholders is very complicated. There's so many people, there's so many interests, there's different background, and communicating with them can really be a challenge. I'm going to take the next few minutes and show you a model that will help you communicate better with anyone in the world. And it only takes about 5 minutes of observing them and how they interact with other people. It's a very powerful tool, and most people don't even realize how to use it. I'm talking about the DISC behavioral profile. And when people think of DISC assessments, they very quickly jump to Myers-Briggs or maybe other personality types. But DISC is really a behavioral analysis, behavioral needs analysis. What do these people need? What are they looking for? And when you understand that, you can communicate with them better and honestly negotiate and just have a much more effective relationship once you realize what your needs are compared to other people's needs. So I'm going to walk you through this model, and we'll talk about how it applies then later with project leadership and stakeholder communication. So the first thing you have to do is think about this on two axes. So don't jump to the 4-box model of DISC. Think about just two axes. And the first one here is about how controlled someone is or how expressive. If they are very controlled, they will have their hands closer to their body. They think before they speak. They're a little more reserved. Expressive, we all understand what expressive means, right? They move around, they want to talk, right? We understand these words. This isn't some code you have to break. You already know how to do this. You just have to think about the two different axes. This is a way of thinking about this is how much energy is the person spending controlling their emotions or not controlling their emotions. So this is high energy for control versus letting it all go. And you know what they're thinking because they say it as soon as they think it. This axis is about how much energy they're exerting on the room around them. So this is internal and this is external. And here we're going to say this is tell assertive. And I used to say this was assertive and this was more passive, but that really isn't a fair way of looking at it. Are they telling the room what they want to have happen? Are they telling people things, or are they asking? And so this can be ask assertive. So when they speak up, when they are interacting with the group, are they asking questions? Are they pulling information out, or are they putting information into the room? Is a way of looking at this. And so if you could just observe people for 5 minutes or even less sometimes on these two things. How much energy are they spending? Controlling their own emotions, controlling their speech. Are they careful at picking their words, or do they just kind of blabber on? Are they telling the room what to do? Are they telling the room what they're thinking? Are they in a tell mode, or are they in an ask mode? If you think about those two things, you end up with 4 boxes pretty quickly. Now, I can walk you through that if you're not familiar with the DISC model. It's very simple. And we'll just spell it the way it comes out. So D's are first. And D's like to be decisive, and they like to have dominance. That's a nice way to look at it. So D, they like to make the decision, right? They will tell you, and they will be very metered about it. They won't use a lot of words, right? They like to win. They like action. They like decisions over talk most of the time is a good way of looking at that. The next letter is I. And I's are expressive, more emotional than the D's. So they're going to be talking and telling things, but they talk about themselves a lot. They like to be liked. They like to be appreciated. They want to have influence and interaction. So they're influencing the room around them. They don't have to make the decision, but they want to have a say in the decision. And the D's are happy to make the decision for them. And the I's are pretty okay with that as long as they got listened to. The next quadrant is the S. And S is really like stability and security. S's are the historians. They will ask lots of questions. And if they know it, they will tell you if you ask them, and they will tell you the history of why things are the way they are. They understand how everything fits together. And that's just part of their harmony. They are very organized people. They are ask assertive, but they're still very personal. They don't like to have the spotlight, perhaps, but if you sit down with them one-on-one, you'll have a great conversation. They want to ask lots of questions and get to know you as a person. The last one is, the last quadrant are the C's. And C's like consistency and compliance. C's are the rule makers. They like to write the rule book. Here's the right way to do it. It's very important for a C to be correct, is another way to think about a C. Facts, data. I hear you talking, but show me the data, right? And they actually have a hard time making decisions because they like to be right, and they have so much data, they can say, well, it could be this or it could be that. And so sometimes they have a hard time declaring a position, where a D will go out, and even an I can make decisions pretty quickly because it's okay. We're taking the risk. We're going with it. This side avoids risk a little bit more, right? Especially the S's. So if you think about working with people and how you communicate with them, and you think about what their needs are, if someone needs influence and interaction, listen to them talk. If they need decisiveness, don't walk them through the 8 possibilities of what might happen. Bring them a recommendation and say, we want to do this. If they're a C and you show up with one recommendation, you're being reckless. You haven't studied this enough. You're trying to run off and jump off a cliff too quick, right? S's want to see why and how you got there. Show me the big picture. Tell me the story of how you got there. A little different than showing them lots of data, right? People that put this in place had a reason for doing it this way. Do you understand why it was done this way before we change it? Would be the thing an S would look for. So if you apply this to your project and stakeholder management, you have all these people as stakeholders. I guarantee it. You are one of these types. So as a project leader, you need to take your communication style and flex. So wherever you are on this circle, you need to be able to move towards the center and think, all right, I'm very talkative and I like to talk to people about this. So I'll call people up without even warning to tell them what's happening. If that's not what they appreciate, that's not a good call. So you call a C and say, we had a failed manufacturing run and they want to know what happened, why, give me more information. Now, if you're a C, you might not want to make that phone call and inform a manager that might be a very decisive manager, and you might spend hours or possibly a day or two getting all the data straight before you make that phone call. And they'll look at you and say, why did you wait so long? I needed to know this right away. You should have told me. And they wanted to have that power and take action and direct what you're going to do, and you waited too long. So there is never one right answer. You always have your perspective, and you have to think through, my tendency is to rush in quickly if I'm on this side, or my tendency is to move slowly. And then where are your stakeholders at? Who are you communicating with? And we should all move towards the center, but you need to know your sponsor and your key resource holders and think about this of saying, we're not quite ready to give you all the data yet, but I wanted to give you a heads up. We're working on it. By 5 o'clock tomorrow, we'll have some recommendations for you, and give them a heads up because that's how they want to be communicated with. Or if you know your stakeholder is a C, you'll say, we're working on this. Here's the plan we have. We don't have the data yet, but here's how we're going after the data. We're going to do this. You don't send a 2-line note if your stakeholder is over here. You're going to send them a longer note about what you're working on before 5 o'clock tomorrow and let them know what you're doing if you feel you need to communicate that. This is where sending one email to all your stakeholders is so treacherous. That one email probably is not going to please everyone. If it's way too long, these stakeholders won't read it. It might sit in the inbox. They might just automatically file it in your project folder that they can look at later. Knowing they have it is better than not having anything. But writing one email and thinking that's communication, it's not. You have shared information with all your stakeholders, which is a good thing to do, but communication needs to be tailored to their needs. And so think through that, especially with your key stakeholders, and how you're going to flex because of that. Now, since I'm talking about DISC, I think it's important to cover one more item, because you are one of these types. And we normally communicate in a way that fits us. But we also need to realize our own weaknesses and look for people on our project team to help us balance this out. So normally I's are great at kicking off the meeting and having team building and things like that. They like to throw the party for the team. But organization can be lacking sometimes. They might not document all the action items. They might not take the best notes during the meeting. So you might have a team member that is more detail oriented that you can ask to help check that work. Not that you have to have them do it all, but at least they have someone to keep you a little more organized. Or you like decisiveness. You want to have short meetings and stay on track and boom, 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 in 20 minutes we're done. Well, the team needs to talk and think through things and have ownership. And that style might be not the best, so you need to sit back a little bit and say, help me understand how I can build this team better. Give me some ideas. Maybe give them agenda items to pull things out while you are patient and let the team work through things. Or if you're the C leader, you have lots of detail and you want to go through all the detail, and you're going to take your team through a 2-hour exercise to fill out a QFD chart. Probably not something everybody's looking forward to, but you know that's an important thing to do because it's the right way to do it. Or we're going to do a failure mode and effects analysis and talk about every possible failure mode, right? That's the things that as a C you think are very important to do, but again, your team, you might lose them. And so that idea of moving towards the center, asking people on the team, this is an area that I might struggle with, so help me. Ask your team members to round you out to help you move to the middle. S's, their limitation normally is initiation, making that first decision. C's like to be right, so they don't declare a position. S's have a hard time making the change because things are here for a reason. And upsetting the apple cart, tipping things over, causing a mess is the last thing they want to do. And so sometimes they need to rely on the D to say, do we have enough to make the decision? Because I'm not quite ready to pull the trigger yet. So help me over here on this side. Help me pull the trigger because I know my competency, where I'm looking at is going to hold me back maybe a little bit in that area. So this is the DISC wheel. I look forward to working with you and coaching you on your projects and applying this to your stakeholders and helping you communicate, again, 2 ways, not just inform people, but communicate in a way that people view you as meeting their needs. I'm Adam Peterson. Thank you for watching.